I'm so used to like holding a mic or like walking around, so just bear with me as my voice goes back and forth. All right, so I'm going to take you back in time to 2020 in January. And I was sitting at a conference room table with a CMO of a big biotech company. And he had asked for me by name. So I flew up to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I was sitting with him. And my job was to help him figure out what his oncology portfolio could be. And I had a big job back then, like big job. I felt like I was like, big energy Jess. And I thought this was like the pinnacle of my career. I thought this was my purpose. This is what I'm sitting here for. And he starts telling me about like his life and his family and his wife and his college career and his rugby legacy and his children's accomplishments and his vacation home on the Cape. Tell me about your family. What's your family like? I'm like, I spent a lot of time with my friend and her 3 daughters, and we summer in Long Beach Island, New Jersey. I love her. And we have a trip planned to Barcelona, and it's going to be great in March. And he just looks at me, and he's like, with compassion, but he's nodding, because he's like, this girl has no life. So we go on with our meeting, and we're talking, and I excuse myself at one point, and I go to the restroom, and I collect myself, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? You have nothing of value. You have no relationships. You have no family. You have no children. Like, what are you doing? And then I've had this conversation with myself many times, and I have pushed it down, and I have ignored my intuition many times, because that would mean that I would have to relinquish control. I got on that plane, and I went back to New York City, and I went with my life, just like I had been doing it I was 46 at the time. And I got a phone call 2 weeks later, and my mom had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And it rocked my world, and it rocked my family's world, and we got her in treatment very quickly. And luckily, she responded really well, and she was moving forward, and I said, Mom, I'm going to Barcelona. She's like, Jess, go to Barcelona, live your life. And on March 7th, I got on that plane with the same friend and the same daughter of hers, visiting her other daughter. And we were excited for this trip we had planned for so long. We all know what happened on March 12th, 2020. Everyone remembers that day, right? COVID exploded in the United States. I'm in Spain. And the administration puts down this order at the time, and they're like, dear US citizens, if you are not in the country, you may never get home again. Get home now. We all remember that, right? We all remember that TV moment? Mm-hmm. Our phones blew up at the same time. It was like 3 a.m., like Spain, like Barcelona time. My friend's husband called her, and my CEO and my head of HR called me. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is my first phone call. I'm like, this is not my life. Like, this cannot be my life. This cannot be my life. 72 hours later, I find myself back in New York City, laying in my bed with 104 fever. I am hallucinating beyond belief. I feel like there's an elephant sitting on my chest, and I feel like terrified, like I'm going to die. And New York City fell apart very quickly, very, very fast. And I worked in healthcare, and I knew that there was like no saving anything. And all I knew how to do was save myself, and I screamed out loud, I will not fucking die. I am not dying today. I'm not dying at all. I'm going to live my life. I claim my life. I'm going to live my life. 2 weeks later, I collected myself. I had like 50% of my health back. And I'm like, I am out of here. This city is falling apart. I'm not staying here. I rented a house in Long Beach Island, New Jersey for the summer. Packed up my cats, packed up my things, and off we went. And we spent the summer there. And I did a lot of soul searching. And I did a lot of meditating, and I did a lot of spiritual healing, and I did a lot of talking to the ocean, like sitting at the edge of the ocean and throwing my wishes out to the ocean. Big wishes that I've never said out loud. I want a husband. I want a family. I want children. I want a community. I want friends that I like that like me back. I want to do good things. I want to be creative. I want to help people. I want to be inspiring. I want to live a full life. I want to be abundant, healthy, financially free. I want to be free. Screamed it out to the ocean like a crazy person. This is my truth. 2 days later, I start getting these advertisements on Instagram for a company called Suburban Jungle. And they're a relocation company. And they move you from here to here. And they specialize in people who don't know how to get here. What is here? Where do you go? So I answered a questionnaire of 100 questions. And they're like, we've matched you with 7 communities. 1 in Connecticut, 1 in New Jersey, 5 on Long Island. I'm like, moving to Long Island, put my cards down on Long Island. I bet on Long Island. I'm like, what am I gonna do with the last 6 months of my lease on my New York City apartment? And I did all of this thinking, and I did a lot of hard decisions, and I surrendered my apartment. In the middle of COVID, 6 months left on my lease, 25 years in my heart of how long it took me to get to New York City and live in that apartment in Tribeca. And I gave it up. And I moved me and my cats to Long Island. And we rented another home for 7 months. And we got our bearings and we figured things out. And then we started doing house hunting with the realtor that introduced us from Suburban Jungle. Centerport was on that list, and I had narrowed down very quickly that Centerport was based on their documents, somewhere that aligned with me. We drove through the town, we looked at the beaches, we saw the houses, and these warm embers just started igniting inside of me, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm at the West Coast. This looks like Dana Point. This looks like Laguna Niguel. This looks like, it's beautiful. And I have visited the West Coast many times. It's very special in my heart, and I'm like, this is it. I know this is it. I know this is it. He's like, you want to go see a home? I'm like, let's go see a home. We walk in this home. It is massive. It's huge. It was empty. There were a lot of bedrooms. There was a lot of bathrooms. There was a backyard. There was a basement. Everything I asked for in my vision board, in my manifestation, in my meditations, all the things. But I couldn't picture all the things because it was so big and it was so dark and it was January and there was snow on the ground. We walk into the family room and there's 2 pieces of art on the wall. And one of the pieces of art was the Wicked Witch of the West screaming at Dorothy. Like this, black and white, the biggest photo you've ever seen. Empty house, flipped house, empty, completely empty. But you see, I played Dorothy in 2nd grade. This is me, with Toto, my friend. And I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So this movie has been very close in my life for as long as I've been alive. So I see this picture and I'm like, whew, my heart's beating. And I told myself when I left New York that I'm gonna be on my own yellow brick road and I'm gonna find my way home. I'm gonna find a home, something that I had never had. And I told my realtor this story and he's like, I didn't know anyone from Long Island, they just give you the looks, And I walked through the rest of the house and, I'm just like, I don't know, I really can't see it right now. I'm very flustered. The picture really threw me off. So we left, 2 weeks rolled by and they had an open house. And it was the same house again, but this time it was furnished. So I was like, I want to go back. I want to go back. And he's like, you're not going to like that house. It has too much work. It needs too much work. You're not going to like it. And I'm like, I want to go back. Go back. I wait in line behind 10 people, another snowy January, and I walk in and it's decorated straight out of Dana Point, straight out of Laguna Niguel, California coastal everywhere. I'm like, I can see myself at that kitchen table. I can see myself on that couch. I can see myself sleeping in that bedroom. I want to make an offer. And he's like, all right. And we made an offer, $1 over asking, and it was accepted the next day. And I left a $7,000 deposit, good faith deposit, and I'm writing out the check, and he's like, the company's name is Second Chance Real Estate. And I'm like, which is still written on my garage door, by the way. Second Chance Real Estate, black Sharpie marker. I don't want it to come off. And I Googled the number of my house, 235. If you all Google it right now, it's gonna tell you that it means the opportunity to make things right, the opportunity to do it again, the second chance. And I sat in my Jeep and I was like, okay. And this wave of faith came through my heart that I had never felt before. And I moved in that house on May 16th, 2021, almost 1 year to the day after I left New York City. And I got to work on building the list. I had to renovate the house. There was a lot of things that needed improvements. My driveway wall looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. My garage, leaking water everywhere. My basement had black mold. It had asbestos tiles. And I had to have the stairs replaced up from the basement to the kitchen. and my cesspool was collapsing. All these things I found out after the inspection, after I moved in. I'm like, I got this. I'm strong, control Jess. I can do everything. I can do it, I got it. And then I meet some neighbors, and they're like, your house has a lot of history. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, it was abandoned 3 times. It was foreclosed on twice. There was a death, there was addiction, there was abuse. And I'm like, oh. And I start thinking to myself, why is this hurting my heart? Like, why is this hurting my heart? And I start thinking about all the things that I have been pressing down in my life that I have not addressed all of those years, all of the traumas, all the things that I have not healed in myself. And it really got me thinking about, what did I need to do to become a better person to receive these things that I want in the world that I asked the ocean for. And I did more therapy, and I did more spiritual healing, and I did a lot more introverted, inside, retrospective, talking to myself. And I came to the conclusion that this job that I had held, this career that was 70 hours a week, that was taking everything, was filling this large tub that had no room for anything else. And after 2 years of resistance, I took myself out of the game and resigned from that 25-year career. And it was the hardest thing that I have ever done in my entire life. I dismantled my identity. The only Jess that I have ever known was strategist Jess. Everyone just knew me as that. And I'm in this new community with all these people I'm meeting, and I didn't even know how to talk about myself. I don't know how to say, hi, I'm Jess. So I didn't. And I just kind of went inward, and I felt completely empty. And I had to find ways to fill the void, but that took me 18 months to figure out how to do that. I started growing flowers. They made me feel better. I joined a garden club. These women made me feel better. I started selling flowers on my driveway. I started doing garden design. People have known me for my whole life would text me what are you doing? Is everything okay? Do you need to talk to somebody? And I'm like, I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm figuring it out, and what I feel is centered. What I feel is calm, and what I feel is back to myself, which I don't even know if I knew who myself was for all those years. But I felt warm, and I felt creative, and I felt loving, and I felt open, and I knew that my heart was opening more than it ever had before. And I was deepening my spirituality, and throughout this entire journey, I didn't know that this was the path that I was going to take. I didn't know that this was going to be my yellow brick road, but it was one that found me back home to myself. And I think when we see things, and we're talking about signs today, the universe is always showing us things. And I think we have to ask ourselves, are we listening? Do we have the capacity to actually hear what they're saying, what the signs are saying? And then do we have the courage to act on them?